What's going on, guys? It's Corey coming at you with a new video. Trey will not be a part of this one. This is a different kind of video that I wanted to put on the channel. Do not worry though, we do have a new episode of Sports from the Chair coming this week. Look out for that on Friday. But for now, the purpose of this video, I wanted to make it Sixer-centric, focusing specifically on this year's NBA draft. Now, the 2024 NBA draft is one that a lot of people have been saying is perhaps the weakest in a while, and that's fair to say. And for me, looking at it at first glance, I felt the same way. But lately, taking a deeper look at it, I do not think it's as weak as people are trying to say it is. Now, granted, will you find a superstar in this year's draft? Maybe not, but I think this draft is still a good one for looking at and finding really high-level role players and glue guys to really help elevate your team. And for the Sixers purposes, that's something we really need going forward. So we, right now, have the 16th overall pick in this year's draft. There's been a lot of division discussions up in the air by fans as to what we should do with the 16th overall pick. A lot of people are saying we should trade it, combine it with a bunch of other first-round picks we have, and try to get a big-time player, someone like Markkanen from the Jazz, or bring Mikal Bridges home from the Nets. However, I do not think that either of those choices are realistic. Even though I would love if one of them happened, I think Markkanen or Mikal would be great for the team right now. But with the way the front offices are for the Jazz and the Nets right now, that's very unlikely. So, looking at the 16th pick, there are guys in that range that we can get and can impact this team right now. And that's the purpose of this video. Today I'll be looking at the 5 guys who I am most interested in at the 16th pick for the Sixers. And now, disclaimer, when I say 5, I really mean like 2 or 3, with one being someone that I'm very, very high on. However, the other two of them that I will go into are mainly guys who have just been thrown around to us in recent mock drafts that I've seen. So while I will get into them and will talk about their prospects being on this team, I'm not exactly as high on them. They're basically just put there as, just cuz. But I'll give them a fair chance anyway. So yeah. So without further ado, let's get into it. Looking at the first guy on our list, we have Kel'el Ware out of Indiana. He is a 7-foot center. He's 20 years old and weighing 242 pounds. This past season, he averaged 15.9 points, 1.9 blocks, 1.5 assists, 42.5% from 3. Pretty decent, although I don't think that was on very high volume. And 58% from the field. Now, looking at Kel'el Ware, he's someone who I've seen shoot out the boards recently. I believe pretty decent showing at the draft combine. He's a guy who's been mocked to us recently, mainly in the Bleacher Report's recent mock draft. He's a guy who I'm sure a lot of people will look at as to being the solution to our backup center problem. I love Paul Reed, but this past season was not the best for him, and we all know the issues that this team has with Joel Embiid being on the bench. We are a drastically different team in the backup center position as a whole that we really need to fill. However, looking at Kel'el Ware, I'm not as high on him, mainly because he is a player who you will need to give some time to and need to grow. This is a guy who he could help the team, but at the same time, he may not be the current impact now player that we need. Also, the backup center position is one we could fill in free agency. A lot of people have been saying we should go back and get Andre Drummond. Although I don't think he would leave Chicago. There's a 50-50 there. But there are other options that we can go after in free agency for the backup center position to fill that hole, in my opinion. So Kel'el Ware, I am not as high on. He's my number 5 guy. Will he be a good prospect? Sure. But at the same time, depends on what team he lands with and the system he's in. The Bleacher Report has his pro comp as to Brook Lopez. The Ringer has his pro comp to Miles Turner. Very good guys. Very good players for their respective teams. However, again, he's just a guy who you will need to give some time to. Let's see how he plays out. And yeah, he's just a guy who I don't see impacting this team right away. So for those reasons, he is my number 5 guy. Okay, so the next guy on our list that we will be looking at is Ja'Kobe Walter. Now, he's another guy who is said to be around our pick. Like a lot of mock drafts, he's basically stuck in that teens range from a lot of mock drafts that I've seen. I've seen him go as high as 11. I've seen him go as low as 18, 19. Basically, he will be somewhere in that area for our 16th pick. He is a guy coming out of Baylor, 6'5", 19 years old, 195 pounds. He averaged 14.5 points, 1.4 assists, shot 34% from 3, and 37% from the field. That field goal percentage is not very attractive. However, one of his main attributes and one of the main things that has raised his stock so high was the three-point shooting, specifically movement shooting. And however, that's something that didn't really go well for him in the combine. Looking at a lot of reports, he did not have the best shooting performance. A lot of guys have had him as their combine losers. So, yeah, he's a guy who you probably have to pull on a few more pounds. He's a bit on the younger side. Bleacher Report, his pro comp is KCP. The Ringer, his pro comp is Chris Middleton. Again, both really great guys for their teams. KCP specifically, we know how good he is. He helping the Lakers in the 3-and-D aspect, helping them win that championship in 2020. I know a lot of people knock on the bubble championship, but at the same time, it's still a championship ring. You can't take that away from them. And even seeing KCP on the Nuggets, like last year, he was a big help for them getting that championship victory, knocking down timely threes, clutch threes, you name it. This man was defending guys, being a pest. He's a guy who you really want on your team. However, Ja'Kobe Walter is a guy who, again, like Kel'el Ware, it will take him some time to get to where he needs to be, to where you're expecting him to be as an NBA prospect. Can he be a high-level player? Can he be possibly, fringe all-star player? I think so. Given the work, given the right system, sure. Chris Middleton range, maybe. Maybe Chris Middleton before the injury. We all know Chris Middleton, since he's gotten injured, since that Bucks championship has not been the same. And now he's kind of like, not flailing, but just really trying to find his position on that team now since they got Dame. Yeah, Ja'Kobe Walter's a guy who I believe, I've seen a lot of mocks him going to the Trailblazers. I believe that would be a very good fit for him. A team that's not really trying to win now, a team that's building, a team that's trying to get good pieces around their players. He could be a good fit next to Scoot Henderson, I think. So yeah, he's a guy who, he wouldn't be the worst option, but again, for what our mindset is for this organization going forward right now, he's not a guy who I see really fitting in with this squad. So for those reasons, he is my number 4 guy. Okay, so now we're going to get into the guys who I am really high on. The last two were basically guys who I've seen possibly get mocked to us or at least be in the range for our pick, but not guys I'm very excited about. These next 3 are guys who I am very high on and guys who I believe will be immediate impact players for the Sixers at 16. The first one being Jared McCain out of Duke. A lot of people already know about Jared McCain. A lot of Sixers fans have been very high on him. He comes in at 6'3", he's 20 years old, 197 pounds. This past season with Duke, he averaged 14.3 points, 1.9 assists, 41% from 3. He is debatably the best shooter in this draft. You could argue he may be the best shooter in this year's draft. And that's a very high point for him. And he averaged make sure I read this right, 46% from the field. So Jared McCain, at first, he was the guy who I was very high on, the guy who I really wanted to get at 16. He was a guy who, he's a Blue Devil. You almost can never go wrong with a Duke Blue Devil. And looking at his skill set, again, being one of the best shooters in this draft, I think he would fit very nice offensively, at least, next to Tyrese Maxey. However, the knock on him, unfortunately, and this is kind of getting into my mindset on what I think we need for this team going forward. We need guys, I think, who have really nice size. So like 6'5" and above, in my opinion. You need guys who have size. You need guys who, well, like Daryl Morey said in his exit presser, we need wings. And that's something that you can find in this year's draft. Paul George, like we said in our last podcast episode, is a choice. It's a choice. Was it the best choice? Maybe not. But we're looking for wing players. I'm looking for guys who can really fill those gaps. Jared McCain would help a lot offensively. Again, it would be a great backcourt next to Tyrese Maxey. However, given the fact that him and Tyrese are pretty much the same height, it would be very, very frustrating defensively. Now, mind you, Tyrese has grown a lot as a defender. He is very pestery. He's a bit of a pest on defense. He reminds me a lot of TJ McConnell. He's a guy who has really stepped up offensively. He's got shooting 40% from three, even though he came into the league. His main knock was he shot 27% from three in college. He has broken through those barriers, and he has shown that he is more than what his college stats said. However, I do not see Tyrese as like a world beater defensively or like an all defensive team type guy. Although I could be wrong. We as Sixers fans have put a lot of ceiling on Tyrese Maxey's game, and he has shattered each and every one in recent years. So you never know. But yeah, looking at how that backcourt would look. Jared McCain, he's not exactly DeAnthony Melton, I would say. So having him and Tyrese in that backcourt, while it would be great offensively, we really would be struggling defensively. They would get picked on. Teams would try to get mismatches so frequently. Like it would be, yeah, I don't think it would be fun. Although, with the way the league's going, guys can't really play defense the way they should or want to anymore. So who knows? But at the same time, yeah, defensively just not be a good fit. And I think we need to put more emphasis on the wing position. Considering, again, like the backup center position, I believe we can get more guard depth in the free agency. So, but still, I'm very high on Jared McCain. If he fell to 16, and he would, depending on how the draft shakes out, if he fell to 16 and he was the best option, I would be more than happy to have him on the team. But yeah, he is my number 3 guy for that reason, and you will see why going to the next 2 guys. By the way, I forgot to mention, so Jared McCain's pro comps for the Bleacher Report mock draft, his pro comp is Immanuel Quickley, and for the Ringer, this is a bit wild. Okay. His pro comp for the Ringer is Steph Curry. Okay, I know, listen, I understand. I believe Jared McCain will have a great career no matter where he goes. I think he is, again, like I said, he is a great shooter, arguably the best in this draft. However, considering this year's draft class has been deemed probably the weakest, I don't know if it's fair to really compare someone to a 4-time champion, one of the greatest not even one of the greatest shooter in NBA history, and a guy who's still playing at a very high level, even though he's in his early mid 30s. Yeah, that's a bit of a spectrum there, but again, yeah, who knows? I think McCain will have a great career no matter where he goes, but yeah, some of those comps are just a little bit out there for me. Okay, now we're going to get into my top 2 favorite prospects in this year's draft. And the first one is someone who a lot of Sixers fans have had a consensus on. If he's available, pick him. He's the guy we need. And that is Devin Carter. Out of Providence, Devin Carter averaged this past season 19.7 points, 3.6 assists, 37% from the 3, and shot 47% from the field. He's 6'3", although he plays a lot bigger than his size, 22 years old and 195 pounds. Now, there's a lot to like about Devin Carter, and I am a big fan of his game. He's a great two-way player, 3-and-D guy. He is the prototypical guy who you look for to fill the gaps in your team, do the dirty work, hustle, be a menace on defense, and just give you his all on offense. He's a guy who is like a Josh Hart of the league. And now, Sixers fans, we know how annoying Josh Hart was in this past series against the Knicks. We know how much of a good player Josh Hart was in Villanova. So having a guy like that in Devin Carter would be a no-brainer for this team. He would be a guy who would fit well next to Maxey, and is a guy who, of his own accord, has in interviews has said how he thinks a pairing between him and Tyrese backcourt would be great for the Sixers. However, and I'm sorry to burst some people's bubbles, but as much as I would like Devin Carter here, I think there is almost a 100% chance he gets picked before 16. Specifically, right before us by the Miami Heat at pick 15. This man is everything that we look for in Devin Carter that we say would make him a great fit here are the exact same things that make up a prototypical Miami guy. And given the fact that, again, Miami is a pick before us, his dad, I believe, played with Miami when he was a player. The writing's on the wall. I mean, he's going to end up at South Beach. It's just no way around it. I would be very surprised if he made it past that 15th pick. For what it's worth, he is a great player, a solid dude. The only knock I have on him would be his three-point shooting. Although he shot a decent rate in college, his three-point shot, the form at least, is not ideal. It's a bit wonky at times, a bit more of a push shot when you really look at it. But at the same time, you never know. He could develop his shot. I mean, same with Tyrese Maxey. I said it before. Tyrese came in with a very, very lackluster three-point percentage. His form was there, but he just, the rate was not it. Fast forward now, he's one of the best shooters in the league. Could Devin Carter become that too? Possibly. And again, he plays bigger than his size. He stands at 6'3", but you would think he's 6'6" the way he plays out there. It's just crazy. He's a guy who I do have number 2 though. But depending on how the board shook out, I would be happy if we took him at pick 16. Okay, so now we get to my number 1 guy. And this guy, I've talked about Jared McCain, I've talked about Devin Carter, and I think either one would be a good impact on this team. However, I believe for what this team needs and for what we have been missing, I think this guy is perhaps the best option, period, at number 16. And that is Tristan da Silva out of Colorado. Tristan da Silva stands at 6'9". I think in the combine, he without shoes, he's like 6'8" and a quarter. He's 23 years old, 220 pounds. This past season, he averaged 16 points, 2.4 assists, 39.5% from the three, and 49% from the field. This man, okay, I talked about Jared McCain's shooting. Jared McCain is arguably the best shooter in this draft. Tristan da Silva is right there with him, I think. Tristan da Silva is a wing player, a guy that we have desperately needed. His comp for Bleacher Report is Kyle Kuzma. Cool. His comp for The Ringer, Kyle Anderson. Now, we all know slow-mo, he's called that for a reason. However, Kyle Anderson is a guy, a glue guy, a role player, high-end role player guy who you will want on your team. We've seen how he is with the Timberwolves these past 2 seasons. He is a guy who can anchor you defensively and offensively, honestly. I think Tristan da Silva could be that guy for us. And honestly, when I look at his game, he reminds me a lot of Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets, offensively at least. He's a guy who is taller, lanky, knows how to use his size and length to get to the basket. He gets knocked on for his ability to dribble past defenders. I think he's getting hit a bit more harder than he should be, because we're looking at his tape, he can manage very, very well. He's a guy who knows how to use his length to play defense. That's why he also reminds me of Nicholas Batum, but younger. Now, Nicholas Batum, we all know when he first got here for the Sixers after that James Harden trade, we were praising this man for his three-point shooting, his connective passing, and his defense. This man was almost 40, playing like he was 26, maybe 28. Like, I know his career hasn't been hasn't always been the best. I mean, we remember on the Hornets, he got that big contract from Jordan and did not live up to it. However, he's still a high-end role player guy who you want on your team, and Tristan da Silva can fit that exact mold and then some, in my opinion. Tristan da Silva is a guy who knows how to pass. He has a great basketball IQ. He can pass the rock just like Batum. He can be that connective passer. If he's not shooting that ball, he's dishing out to another open man, or at least keeping it moving to get an open shot. He's a guy who gets knocked for not being as athletic enough. Honestly, given his size, he doesn't need to be that athletic. I mean, he's not Ricky Council, no. But given his size, he's a guy who can still make it work. He can still dunk. He can still get by guys. He can still muscle pretty well. He's 23 years old. He's a guy who has pretty much been in college for a while, has gotten that growth, and can come in and just impact this team right away. Him, more than anybody else in that area for the 16th pick, is a guy who I would be very high on to draft at 16. Same age as Maxey. He can grow around, be in that system with Maxey. He can help Joel and Maxey right now, but when Joel is done, he can fit him right next to Maxey, and they can make it work. We need more wings. Daryl Morey said in his exiting press conference after we got eliminated from the Knicks, we need more wing players. He said that would be his main position he would look for, and if he is half the president of basketball ops that we think he is, he would have Tristan da Silva circled on his big board for the NBA draft this year. Those are my 5 prospects. Tristan da Silva rounds it out at number 1 for me. He is my favorite guy to look at, for the 16th pick. And yeah, I'm excited to see how he shakes out. Again, he's 23 years old, been in college, 4-year guy. He's a guy who does not need time to grow. He's a guy who you don't have to put in the G League. He's a guy who can come in, step on the court from day one, and be a contributor, an impact player. He is a high-end role player type guy. Possibly could be a fringe all-star if things shake out well. He's a guy who we have been missing. We have desperately been needing for this Sixers team. And I know some fans aren't exactly as sold on him yet. However, taking a closer look at him, let him get on this court, he's going to be a big, big game changer for us. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents. I am very happy to see where he ends up, either whether it's here or any other team. And yeah, that's my 5 favorite players for the 16th pick for the Sixers in this year's draft. And that's going to be it for me. Let me know what you guys think about my list. If you agree with my pick. If not, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think we should do with the 16th overall pick. And let me know who you would go for. Let me know if you would even use a pick at all, whether you would trade it, and for what. So yeah, just leave a comment, leave a like. Let's have a discourse. Let's have a dialogue. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, we do have a new episode of the Sports from the Chair podcast coming this week on this channel from me and Trey. This video is a little bit different, but we're just trying to find some versatility on this channel. You'll be seeing a lot more videos like this, individual, but being specific for a certain sport, whether it's basketball with the Sixers, football with the Eagles, even baseball with the Phillies. Me and Trey will be here to cover it all. So thank you guys. Please support us as much as you can. We really appreciate it. Trying to start something up out here. Yeah, that's all for me. Let me know what you guys think. Have a blessed day, and go Sixers.